The spaceport was loud and full of strange voices. People rushed to board their ships, moving like busy ants under a red sky. Jace, a human mechanic, was walking past Dock 9 with a heavy bag over his shoulder. His boots were dusty, his face tired. And his only plan was to get on his ship and leave this planet behind. That's when he heard the soft voice behind him. "Excuse me, human," the voice said. He turned and saw two alien girls standing there, looking up at him with wide eyes. They wore ragged clothes, and their shoes looked too big for their feet. The older one stood tall, proud, with short silver hair and sharp eyes. The younger one clung to her, hiding behind a piece of old cloth. Older girl spoke again. "We don't have money for the tickets." "Human, but we'll compensate you." Jace blinked, unsure if he heard right. "You want me to buy you 2 tickets?" he asked, looking around to see if this was a joke. The older girl nodded. "Yes, just to the next station, nothing more." Jace crossed his arms. "And how exactly are you going to compensate me?" The younger girl pulled out something. From under her cloth, a glowing pendant. It looked valuable, but also dangerous. The older girl quickly pushed the pendant back into her sister's hands, shaking her head. "Not that," she whispered sharply. "Not here." Jace frowned now. Curious, he looked at the line of people at Dock 9, saw how security was checking IDs. Scanning wrists, scanning eyes. These girls had no ID, no credits, nothing, he sighed. "Look, I'm not looking for trouble." "We're not trouble," the older one said calmly. "We're just trying to leave before someone finds us." Those words made Jace pause. He'd heard that kind of voice before: soldiers running from war, kids hiding from bounty hunters. Something about the girl's eyes told him she wasn't lying. Without another word, he walked over to the ticket booth and used his card to buy 3 passes. "Dock 9, cargo shuttle, 3 passengers," the machine confirmed. He handed 1 pass to the older girl and another to the younger one. "Let's go before I change my mind," he muttered. They walked through the gate together, staying low, avoiding the scanning drones. No one stopped them. Inside the ship, Jace took a seat near the back, away from the other travelers. The girl sat beside him quietly, the older one always placing herself between Jace and the younger one. "Names?" he asked after a while. The older girl looked at him. "Arenya." The younger one peeked out from behind her sister and whispered. "Lilu, I'm Jace," he said, not sure why he was telling them. Lilu smiled shyly, then yawned and leaned against Arenya. "She's tired," Arenya said. "We haven't slept in 2 days." Jace nodded, not asking why. They sat in silence as the shuttle engines roared to life. The ship shook as it left the ground and rose into the sky. Jace closed his eyes, hoping this strange day would end soon. But it didn't. Just 10 minutes into the flight, a red light blinked on the screen in front of him. He pressed the screen. "Private message. Are you traveling with 2 alien females? Respond immediately." Jace's blood went cold. He glanced at the girls, who were now both asleep. Another message came. "They are wanted by Central Galactic Command. Report their location and receive 50,000 credits. 50,000 credits. That was more than he made in 3 years. Jace looked at the message, then back at the girls. Lilu mumbled something in her sleep, her tiny hand holding tightly onto his sleeve. Jace didn't move. He reached forward and deleted the message. The light blinked once, then disappeared. He leaned back, eyes open, thoughts racing. He had no idea who these girls really were, but he knew one thing: he had just chosen sides, and there was no turning back now. Asterisk. The ship landed on the next station with a soft thud, but Jace's heart was still pounding like a hammer. He hadn't slept, not even for a minute. The girls were still asleep, leaning against each other, unaware of the message he had deleted. He kept thinking about the number 50,000 credits. That kind of money could fix his ship, erase his debts, and buy him a quiet life. But every time he looked at the younger girl's face, he remembered how she smiled at him, how she held his sleeve like he was already someone she trusted. He didn't know why, but that mattered more than money. The passengers left the shuttle one by one, but Jace waited with the girls until the dock was nearly empty. He gave a little nudge to Aranya's shoulder, and her eyes opened fast, sharp. Alert like she never really slept at all. "We're here," Jace said quietly. Aranya shook Lilu gently, and the younger girl opened her eyes with a tired groan. As they stepped out of the ship, a guard scanned Jace's wristband and nodded him through. The scanner passed over Aranya and Lilu, but instead of beeping, it blinked blue. The guard frowned, tapped the screen, then looked up. "These two with you?" he asked Jace. Jace gave a quick nod. "Yeah, my niece is just visiting." The guard hesitated, looked at the girls, then shrugged and let them pass as they walked deeper into the station. Aranya whispered, "Why did he look at us like that?" "Because you're in some kind of database," Jace muttered. "And that's not good." Aranya stopped walking, pulled Jace into a shadowed corner, and looked him straight in the eye. "You need to know something," she said, her voice lower than before. "We're not criminals," she continued. "We're escapees." "From where?" Jace asked. "From a planet that pretends it's perfect," she said, "but it hides what it fears." Lilu tugged at Aranya's sleeve, then pointed to a security drone hovering near them. They kept walking, slower now, trying not to draw attention. Jace led them to a quiet maintenance corridor he knew from past work. They passed broken doors, flickering lights, and pipes that hissed with steam. There, in the back of a storage room, Jace finally asked, "Tell me everything." Aranya looked at Lilu, then spoke. "We're not sisters, not by blood." "She's more important than I am," Aranya said. "She's what they were trying to control." Lilu looked down, silent, clutching the glowing pendant she had shown before. Jace frowned. "What is she?" "She's not a weapon," Aranya said, "but they tried to make her one." Jace leaned against the wall, trying to understand. "You're saying the people chasing you, they want her back?" "They don't want her back," Aranya said. "They want her erased." Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the metal corridor. They froze. The knock came again. Then a voice shouted. Maintenance inspection opened the door. Jace moved fast, pulling a panel off the wall and gesturing to the girls. "Inside now," he whispered. They crawled into the dark space behind the panel, and Jace shut it, wiping dust off his hands. Just as the door opened, two armored guards stepped in, eyes scanning the room. "You work here?" one of them asked. "Used to," Jace said, "just picking up old tools." The guard looked at a screen on his wrist, showing the photo of Aranya. "And Lilu, seen these two?" he asked, showing the image to Jace. Jace looked at it, shrugged, and said, "Nope, don't think so." The guard stared at him for a long second, then nodded and turned away. As the door closed again, Jace let out a slow breath. He opened the panel and helped the girls out. Lilu hugged him tightly without a word. Aranya looked at him differently now, her voice softer. "You didn't have to lie for us." "Yeah, well," Jace said, "you didn't have to drag me into all this either." Aranya gave a small smile, the first one he'd seen from her. "Thank you," she said. But just as they started to relax, a screen on the far wall flickered on, showing the news. Two fugitives seen boarding cargo shuttle C9 approach with caution. Dangerous and unknown. Their photos filled the screen for all to see. Jace stared at it, then said, "We need to leave now." He didn't know where they would go next, but he knew staying here meant one thing, capture, or worse. And Jace wasn't ready to hand them over, not now, not after what he'd seen in their eyes. They were more than fugitives. They were a secret the galaxy wasn't ready to face, and he was. Now part of it whether he wanted to be or not. The ship door creaked open in the middle of the night. Jace woke up instantly, his hand reaching for the small laser cutter he kept under his pillow. He didn't say a word, just listened. There were soft footsteps, quick but careful, moving toward the engine room. He slid out of his bunk quietly, his bare feet making no sound on the cold metal floor. Whoever was there didn't know he was awake. As he got closer, he saw the shadow of someone kneeling beside the reactor chamber. It was Aranya, her fingers working fast over a hidden panel he didn't even know existed. She didn't flinch when he spoke. "You want to tell me why you're trying to crack open my ship?" Aurania turned her head slowly, her face calm, but her eyes fierce. "I'm not breaking it," she said. "I'm hiding something." Jace stepped closer. "Hiding what?" She reached into her coat and pulled out a metal case sealed with dark red wires and a lock that shimmered like water. "This," she said simply. "It's not safe above ground." Jace didn't like the look of it. "What's inside?" he asked. Aurania shook her head. "The less you know, the better." "That's not going to work," Jace replied. "You're on my ship, using my air, eating my food. You said you'd protect us," she said, her voice low but steady. "I said I'd get you out of the station," he replied. "Not hide war secrets in my engine room." She looked down, then slowly opened the case. Just enough for him to see. Inside was a small glowing cube, floating above a metal base, humming softly like it was alive. Jace took a step back without thinking. "What is that?" he whispered. "It's not a weapon," she said. "But to some people, it's more dangerous than one." Jace stared at the cube, unable to look away. The longer he looked, the more his head felt strange, like his thoughts were spinning too fast. Aurania closed the case quickly, and the feeling stopped. "I can't destroy it," she said. "And if the wrong people find it, they'll burn whole planets to take it." Jace exhaled slowly, trying to understand what he had just felt. "So, you stole it?" "No," she said. "I helped Lilu take it from the lab where she was made." Jace blinked. "Made?" Aurania stood up, closing the panel behind her, locking the case inside. "She wasn't born like you or me," she said. "She was built to understand that thing." Jace felt a chill run down his spine. "And now they're hunting you," he said. "Not for stealing tech, but for running off with their creation." "Yes," she said. "But it's worse than that. They don't just want her back," she whispered. "They want to erase everything she remembers." Jace leaned against the wall, staring at the engine room ceiling. He didn't ask any more questions. He already knew the answer to the one that mattered. This was way bigger than him. Later that day, they landed on a backwater moon to rest and refuel. It was quiet, covered in red dust and surrounded by tall black mountains. No cities, just a few outposts and an old tech trader Jace had dealt with before. He took the girls into town with hoods over their heads, pretending they were his assistants. The tech trader welcomed them into a dusty shack filled with parts and broken droids. As Jace haggled for fuel cells, he noticed the trader's eyes kept drifting toward the girls, especially Lilu, who was holding onto Aurania's arm. Looking nervous. "You brought trouble," the trader muttered quietly. Sliding a hand under the counter, Jace looked him in the eye. "I brought credits." But it was too late. 3 men in dark coats walked into the shop without a word. They moved like soldiers but wore no badges. One of them pointed at Aurania. "You 3, come with us." Jace reached for his side. But before he could do anything, Lilu stepped forward. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, and every electronic item in the room flickered, sparked, then went silent. Even the lights went out. The men froze, unsure what just happened. Lilu looked at them, her voice small but strange. "Leave now." The men backed away slowly, confused, like something inside them told them to obey. They left the shop without another word, disappearing into the street. The trader stared at Lilu in shock, then at Jace. "What is she?" he whispered. Jace put his arm around Lilu, turning her away. "She's someone they shouldn't have created," he said. "And now she's mine to protect." The trader didn't argue, just handed him the fuel cells. As they left the shop, Jace knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a favor anymore. It was a war. And he had already taken the first side. The stars outside the ship were silent, but the tension inside the cabin screamed louder than any alarm. Jace sat alone in the pilot's seat, staring at his hands, still shaking from what he had seen. He had watched a little girl shut down a room full of machines just by looking at them. No wires, no device, no code, just her eyes and a few soft words, Arenya. Sat behind him, her voice quiet. You saw it now, she said. What she is. Jace didn't answer right away. He was thinking about the traitors, the silent men in coats, the strange fear in their eyes. He was thinking about how they backed away, not because they were scared of death, but because they were scared of her. Lilu was sleeping in the corner, wrapped in a blanket, still breathing slow and steady, like nothing had happened. Jace finally asked, "What's going to happen to her?" Arenya looked at the stars, her face calm but tired. "They'll keep coming," she said, "until they take her back or until they're gone." Jace rubbed his face with both hands. "And what if they get her?" "She won't be the same," Arenya whispered. "They'll lock her mind, erase what she's learned, and use her to power weapons beyond anything you've seen." Jace turned his chair, looking straight at her. "So what's your plan?" he asked. "Keep running forever?" Arenya stood up and opened a small drawer in the wall, pulling out an old star map. "We can't run forever," she said. "But there's one place left where they might not follow." She pointed to a dark zone on the map, a place with no routes, no signals, no beacons. "Avalon," she said. "The dead planet." Jace frowned. "You want to hide on a ghost world?" "It's not a ghost," Arenya said. "It's a grave." She unrolled the map wider and pointed at an old war symbol, nearly faded. "This was where she was made," Arenya said, "before it was shut down, before the labs were burned." Jace looked at the chart, then at Lilu, still sleeping peacefully. "And you think there's something there that can help her?" he asked. Arenya nodded. "It's where the others are buried, the ones like her who didn't survive." Jace's breath caught for a second. "Others?" "She was the only one who made it through all phases," Arenya said. "She was number 12. "She thinks she's alone," Arenya added. "But maybe if we go back there, she'll remember more." Jace didn't like the sound of it, but he knew there weren't many choices left. Staying in civilized space meant more bounty hunters, more eyes, more danger. At least on Avalon, the silence might protect them. The ship turned slowly, engines humming low, and they entered the dark zone. As the stars grew fewer, Jace felt a strange pressure in his chest, like space itself was heavier. "Here," Lilu woke up halfway through the flight, eyes wide and confused. "Are we going to where I was born?" she asked quietly. Jace didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. Lilu didn't smile, but she reached out and touched his hand. "You're not like the others," she said softly. "They were scared of me. But you're not." Jace looked down. "Maybe I should be." She shook her head. "You're kind." When they arrived, the planet below looked like a dead stone wrapped in storms. Gray clouds twisted in silence, and lightning cracked over broken towers and black lakes. The landing was rough, shaking the ship like a toy in the hands of a giant. They stepped outside, into freezing wind and dust, the air thick with old memories. Lilu stood between them, holding both their hands, her eyes glowing slightly again. "I remember this place," she whispered, "but not with my mind." With something deeper, they walked across the wasteland, reaching a buried dome made of strange black metal. It looked untouched by time, as if waiting for them. Arenya placed Lilu's hand on the center, and the metal shifted, opening with a soft hiss. They stepped inside, and lights blinked on one by one. The air was warm, filled with the scent of old wires and distant humming. A voice echoed suddenly through the walls, low and soft. "Welcome back, Subject 12. Lilu flinched, but didn't run. "I know this voice," she said. "It used to sing to me when I was scared." Jace looked at Arenya, who looked just as surprised. They walked deeper into the structure, passing old pods, shattered tubes, and rusted armor. Then they reached a chamber with a massive vault door, untouched and sealed. Lilu stepped forward, alone, and the vault began to open with a deep, slow sound. Inside was a glowing sphere, pulsing like a heartbeat, and next to it, a chair empty, waiting. Arenya whispered, "This is it." This is what they wanted her to forget. Jay stepped closer, the hairs on his arms rising as the sphere glowed brighter, and then the voice returned, this time louder, deeper. Will you accept your role again, child of code? Lilu turned back to Jace, eyes full of questions and something else power. He didn't know what she was becoming, but he knew she was no longer just a lost little girl. She was waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The moment Lilu stepped into the vault, the air around her changed. It didn't feel like air anymore. It felt like something alive, something watching. Jace stood at the entrance, unsure if he should follow or turn back. Aurenia whispered behind him, we shouldn't be in here. But it was too late. Lilu was already walking slowly toward the glowing sphere. Her eyes glowing brighter with each step. The lights in the vault blinked softly, matching the beat of her footsteps. The voice returned, low and heavy, but now clearer than before. You have returned, it said. And you have brought the one who must decide. Jace froze. What do you mean? But the voice didn't answer him. It only responded to Lilu, child of code, it said. Do you remember your purpose? Lilu closed her eyes and whispered, I was made to protect knowledge, not to be a weapon. The sphere pulsed once, sending out a soft wave of light that passed through the room. Images appeared in the air, images of stars dying, planets burning, ships screaming through fire. Aurenia stepped back. These are memories, she said, from the old war. Jace looked at Lilu, her small hand raised toward the glowing sphere. She was there, he said slowly. Not this version of her. But something inside her remembers all of it. Lilu turned toward them, her voice strange, echoing with something not hers. There were others like me, she said. But I was the only one who asked why. She stepped toward the chair beside the sphere, and the ground shook slightly as the vault reacted. Sit, and the truth will return, the voice said. Aurenia moved fast, grabbing Lilu's arm. No, she said. You don't know what will happen if you sit in that thing. Lilu didn't pull away. She looked up at Aurenia and said quietly, I need to know who I am. Jace didn't stop her either. Maybe because deep inside, he wanted to know too. Lilu sat on the chair, and the sphere opened with a soft sound like a sigh. Light flowed around her like mist, wrapping her body gently. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she only spoke one word, I remember. A bright wave exploded from the sphere, throwing Jace and Aurenia to the ground. When they opened their eyes, the vault was different. No longer cold and dark, it was alive, filled with soft lights and humming energy. Lilu stood in the center, glowing from within. She looked older, now not in body, but in presence. Jace stood up slowly, his voice shaking. Lilu? She turned toward him, and her voice came gently. Yes, it's me. But I'm more now. Aurenia took a step back. What did you see? I saw everything, Lilu said. I saw what they built me for, what they feared and what they wanted to erase. She walked toward them, and the sphere followed her, floating silently behind. They built me to guard knowledge too powerful, to be in one place, she said. But when I began to ask questions, they tried to shut me down. Jace looked at the sphere, then back at her. Are you still in danger? Lilu nodded. More than before, Aurenia asked. Can they track you now? They will try, Lilu said, but I'm no longer what they built. Suddenly, the ground shook again, this time. Not from the vault, but from above. Jace ran to the surface monitor and cursed. They found us, he said. One ship, no ID, approaching fast. Aurenia's eyes went cold. How? The vault activated something, Jace said. A signal maybe, Lilu stood calmly. It was meant to alert my creators if I woke up. Jace grabbed her hand. Can you shut it off? Lilu closed her eyes, her body glowing brighter. For a second, everything went still. Then the power inside the vault shut down completely, leaving them in silence and darkness. Only Lilu still glowed. The signal stopped, she said. But they're already here, outside. The sky above the dead planet cracked with thunder as a sleek black ship pierced through the clouds. Jace watched it on the screen, his heart racing. "We're not ready for a fight," he said. "Not with that kind of ship." Aurenia looked at Lilu. "Can you do what you did before? Stop them with your mind?" Lilu shook her head. "Not this time." She looked at Jace and said something that made his blood run cold. "This time, I'll have to go to them." "No way," Jace snapped. "They'll take you, erase you again." Lulu stepped forward, her eyes calm. "Not if you go with me. What are you saying?" "The signal made them think I'm still under control," she said. "If we play the part, we can get inside and stop this from the root," Aurenia whispered. "That's suicide." Jace looked at Lilu, the small girl who once asked him for a simple ride. Now standing like a commander, he took a deep breath. "Then we better make it look real," he said. "Let's go meet your creators." The ship that landed above them wasn't like any normal patrol craft. It moved without sound, casting a long shadow that made the ground feel colder. Jace watched it through the small monitor, his jaw tight, his fingers clenched. Beside him, Lilu stood still. Her glowing eyes locked on the dark silhouette above. "They think I'm still theirs," she said softly. "That's our only chance." Jace shook his head. "You don't look like theirs anymore." "They won't see that," Lilu replied. "They only see what they want to use." The ramp of the enemy ship opened slowly, and a group of tall armored figures stepped out. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks, no mouths, no eyes, just metal and silence. A voice came from one of them, not from the mouth, but through a speaker in the air. "Subject 12, it said. "You've activated yourself without clearance." Lilu stepped forward, her voice clear and calm. "I've returned for recalibration," she said. "The host has malfunctioned." Jace stood behind her, pretending to act confused and distant. He had wrapped his face in an old cloth and lowered his posture, pretending to be a simple helper. Aurenia stayed hidden behind the rocks, holding her weapon just in case. The lead figure nodded once. "Authorization accepted." It said, "Proceed aboard." Jace followed Lilu up the ramp, his heart pounding in his chest. The inside of the ship was cold and white, glowing with soft light and humming softly like a distant whisper. Every corner looked clean, too clean, like it had never seen real life. As they walked through the corridor, one of the figures turned its head slightly toward Jace. "Biological escort detected," it said. "Unusual. He is part of my field experiment," Lilu said. "He contains data." "Understood," the machine replied. Jace almost laughed at that, but the fear was too strong. They were led to a chamber filled with strange glass pods, each one empty but active. This is where they kept others like her, Jace realized. One pod still had scratch marks inside, deep and violent. "They died here," Lilu whispered. "All of them." A metal figure turned toward her. "Emotion detected," it said. "Would you like it removed?" Lilu blinked. "No," she said. "Let me keep it." The figure paused, then nodded once. Jace stepped closer, whispering, "What's the plan?" Lilu didn't look at him. "There's a main core above us," she said. "It connects to every facility that once held the others. If I reach it," she continued, "I can shut the entire system down." Jace nodded slowly. "And what do I do?" "Make them believe I'm still obedient," she said. "Until I'm not." They were escorted into a lift that rose smoothly, no sound, no buttons, just movement. When the door opened, they were in the central chamber, tall, bright, and pulsing. With strange light, in the center stood a large glowing machine, like a brain made of crystal and metal. "The core, it's beautiful," Jace whispered. "It's cruel," Lilu replied. "It holds memories it was never meant to keep." The metal guards stepped back, waiting. "This unit will reconnect now," one said. "Begin sync." Lilu stepped toward the core, and wires rose from the floor like snakes, reaching for her hands and head. Jace clenched his fists, wanting to stop it, but she had told him not to move. The wires touched her skin, and she closed her eyes. The room darkened, and then something changed. The air felt heavier, and the lights began to flicker. One of the guards tilted its head. Unexpected energy spike detected. Lilu opened her eyes. But now they burned bright white, no longer glowing blue. "This is not your system anymore," she said, her voice layered with echoes. "I am not your tool." The core screamed not with sound, but with pure energy, shaking the walls and throwing sparks across the room. The guards raised their arms but froze mid-motion. As if something inside them had broken, Jace ran to Lilu's side, trying to keep her steady as the wires pulled at her. Her voice came softer now. "I'm almost done." Aurania's voice crackled through Jace's earpiece. "What's going on?" The ship outside just collapsed like it melted. Jace looked at the crystal brain, now cracking, glowing with unstable energy. Lilu whispered, "I'm burning it all. The files, the programs, the memories. Everything." One of the guards suddenly twitched and moved again, lunging at them with sharp arms. Jace fired his cutter without thinking, blasting the machine in the chest. It sparked and fell, twitching on the floor. Lilu collapsed as the wires released her, smoke rising from her skin. He caught her before she hit the ground. "Hey," he said. "Stay with me." Her voice was weak, but still there. "It's done." The lights went out completely, leaving them in darkness. Then a new sound came, engines, fast and approaching. Jace looked up toward the sky. "More of them?" Aurania's voice came through, shaking. "I don't think so. I think that's a rescue signal from someone else." Jace held Lilu tighter, unsure whether to run or stay. But he knew one thing now: Lilu had done what no weapon ever could. She had ended the system that created her, not with rage, but with choice. The first thing Jace heard was the slow rhythm of her breathing. He didn't remember falling asleep, but when he opened his eyes, Lilu was resting against his chest, still alive, still warm. The vault above them had collapsed hours ago, but somehow, the core explosion hadn't killed them. It had only destroyed the system and everything that controlled her. She looked peaceful now, like a child again. Not a weapon, not a subject. Just a girl who wanted to exist. Aurania sat nearby, her coat wrapped around Lilu's shoulders, her face quiet, but her eyes holding something close to pride. "She did it," Jace said softly. "She did more than that," Aurania replied. "She gave herself a choice." Outside, the sky had cleared, and the strange storm clouds that circled the dead planet were gone. The air was cleaner, the land quieter, like the planet had been waiting for someone to return and set it free. That's when they heard the hum again, not hostile, not mechanical, but softer, more human. A small ship landed near the wreckage, white and silver. Not part of the system that had hunted them. Jace reached for his weapon out of habit, but paused when the door opened. An old man stepped out, wearing a worn uniform and a long coat covered in dust. He didn't raise a weapon, didn't shout, just walked slowly toward them with hands raised. "I received the shutdown signal," he said. "Did someone survive?" Aurania stepped forward, cautious. "Who are you?" "I was one of the last designers," the man said. "I left before they turned the project into something dark." He looked at Lilu, still sleeping against Jace's chest. "She's the last one, isn't she?" Jace nodded. "She stopped it." The man looked around, tears in his eyes. "She wasn't meant to be a weapon," he said. "She was meant to be a guardian of lost knowledge, but they made her into something else," Aurania asked coldly. "And what now?" "You take her." "Again?" The man shook his head. "No, I don't want to control her. I came to thank her." He reached into his coat and handed Jace a small cube, glowing gently. "This contains proof," he said, "of what was done, of who ordered it, and how it ends." Jace looked at the cube. "And what do you expect us to do with it?" "Whatever she wants," the man replied. "It belongs to her now." Lilu opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the light. She saw the old man, saw the cube, and then looked at Jace. "I don't want to remember pain," she said. "But I don't want others to go through what I did." She touched the cube, and it absorbed into her hand. melting like light into her skin. Jace asked, "What did you just do?" "I locked it inside me," she said, "but I'll show it to the right people someday." The old man smiled sadly. "You're more human than most humans I know." He walked back to his ship, leaving them alone with the rising sun. Jace looked at Aurenya, then at Lilu. "What now?" he asked. Aurenya smiled, the first real one he'd seen from her. "You gave us tickets when we had nothing," she said. "And we promised compensation." Jace chuckled. "Yeah, well, I didn't expect world-changing secrets and bounty hunters." Lilu stood and wrapped her arms around his waist. "You gave me safety," she said. "I give you purpose." He looked down at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" She looked at him with glowing eyes, soft but full of wisdom. "You have no home," she said. "Now you do." Jace blinked, unsure what to say. Aurenya stepped beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We want you to stay with us," she said, "not just to protect us, but because you already feel like family." Jace stood there, frozen. All his life he had drifted, fixing ships, staying nowhere, meaning nothing. But now two fugitives who had started with a lie had given him something more real than anything he'd ever had. He smiled, nodded, and pulled them both close. "No more running," he said. "Let's build something new." And from the ashes of a broken system, on a planet once buried in silence, a girl created in a lab, a warrior with no crown, and a human with no past chose to start again, together.